I'm going to try to be as short as possible because there's another rabbi that's going to speak, and I'm very honored and privileged to be here. And I just want to share with you a short idea on the Parsha. Lule Nishmas? Eliezer HaKohen? Ben Angela. And who's sponsored tonight? Okay. Okay. Today, the lesson that we're going to learn about is sometimes you see something fascinating and you think that it was oh wow, it was an impulsive in the moment thing. What we're going to learn today is the idea that people could work very, very hard for a very long time to get to a certain place. And I'll just give you a quick mashal. I was just having a guitar lesson this past week. I like guitar. And this guitarist who was giving me the lesson, he's a very famous musician, and he plays guitar by lots of weddings, and he knows how to shred it like incredible. And I told him, how can you teach me how to do that? So he told me, I want to tell you a little secret that nobody necessarily knows. I spent 2,000 hours working on my guitar playing, and the stuff that you think sounds really cool, I would slow it down so slow you cannot imagine and practice very slowly those things and for many, many hours and hours until finally I was able to get them faster and faster and faster until you see what you see at the wedding. So we're going to see the same kind of idea tonight. Tonight, it says in this week's Parsha, Parshas V'eschanan, that we have Shema, we have V'hafta. V'hafta es Hashem Elokecha. There's a commandment to love Hashem your God. Chol levavcha with all your heart, chol nafshcha with all your soul, v'chol miyadecha with all your resources. So the Gemara tells us the famous story about Rabbi Akivah, that he was bothered by the pasuk b'chol nafshecha all his life, and he said, when will I have the opportunity to love God even by giving up my life? And so the Gemara in Brachos on page 61b tells us the story that the Romans took Rabbi Akivah when he was taken to his execution. It was time to say Kriya Shema, and as they were carving his skin with iron combs, he said Kriya Shema, and the students asked him, our teacher, do you go so far? We're going to have to understand what their question was. And Rabbi Akiva said, my entire life, I was thinking about this pasuk. I was asking myself, how will I ever have the opportunity to take advantage of this and love God with my life by giving up my life? And now finally, I'm so excited. This mitzvah has come to my hand. Now it's my opportunity. And so he said Shema, and his soul left his body with the word Echad. And a heavenly voice came out and said, fortunate are you, Rabbi Akiva, that your soul expired with the word Echad. There's a very similar parallel story in the Yerushalmi, the Talmud Yerushalmi. And the Talmud Yerushalmi adds a couple more details. And it says that Turnus Rufus was torturing him at this time. He was the one torturing him. And what happened was, Rabbi Akiva was smiling. Now, Rabbi Akiva is the famous one that smiled. A whole bunch of other stories and a whole bunch of other Gemaras. But Rabbi Akiva was smiling. So Turnus Rufus said to him, old man, you're either a fool or you're mocking me by smiling. Can you imagine? He's being tortured. They're taking these combs and taking his skin off his body, and he's smiling. So Rabbi Akiva told him, may your soul rot. And he said, I'm not a fool and I'm not mocking you. My entire life, I read this pasuk, and I was like bothered by it. I was troubled by it. When will I have the merit to serve God with all my soul. I've served God with all my heart. I've served God with all my resources, but I never had the opportunity to show God that I love Him with my life. And so now that I have the opportunity, I'm so excited, and that's why I'm smiling. So why is Rabbi Akiva smiling? Because he didn't look at his being tortured to death as a bad thing. He looked at it as an opportunity to fulfill a mitzvah, but not just any mitzvah, a mitzvah that he had been working on for his whole entire life. So basically, the question is, how do we understand the question that the students asked him? They said to him, "Our teacher, do you go so far?" What is their question? And who's asking the question? We have to remember that Rabbi Akiva's Talmidim were from the greatest sages that the Jewish people ever had. So what? Are they asking him why he's saying Shema, why he's willing to sacrifice his life? That can't be. It's not like they're common people. We're talking about the students of Rabbi Akiva. What they're asking him, why are you giving up your life for Hashem? Of course, we know that it's a mitzvah to make a Kiddush Hashem and die for being a Jew. So then Rabbi Asher Weiss says, the question isn't why, it's how. How is it possible? The students were asking Rabbi Akiva, how is it possible that you could be smiling and that you could be so happy while you're being tortured and everything? How is it possible that you can actually execute this? There's a lot of things you learn that are theory, and then there's putting it into actual practice. So Rabbi Akiva basically said to him, it's not something that I just woke up now and thought about working on. I have literally been working on this for my whole entire life, and I have been bothered about this, and I've meditated, and I've prepared myself for this moment, and now that this moment has finally came, I'm so grateful, and that's why I'm smiling. So basically, it's like that guy, the guitarist, he's spending 2,000, 3,000 hours practicing all these different combinations of, patterns, of different kinds of patterns to go fast. Finally, you see him at the wedding and he's shredding it. That's after years and years of, and hours of work. That's part A, and a quick part B. The quick part B is based on what we just said, that the point was that he was working on this his whole entire life. We can now illuminate another story that the rabbis tell us about Rabbi Akiva. Basically, when Rabbi Akiva was imprisoned in jail, there was this rabbi, Rabbi Yeshua the Garsi, who would attend to his needs. And he used to bring water. Now, the water that he brought to Rabbi Akiva that Rabbi Akiva had enough to wash his hands on until Yadayim and enough to drink. But it was the bare minimum. And Rabbi Yeshua, the Garsi, wanted to give him a little bit more water so he has a little bit more to drink, because he was literally going to die of thirst. So he put a little bit extra water in the pitcher. The guard caught him with the extra water and basically made him spill out half the pitcher. So when he came in to Rabbi Akiva, there was only half of what he normally got instead of the regular amount. So Rabbi Akiva basically said, I have a choice now. I'm literally dying of thirst. So I can either drink this water and live, or I can wash my hands al natilas yadayim and fulfill the rabbinic decree of washing your hands. So Rabbi Akiva said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to wash my hands with this water. It's crazy. What about his life? So basically a miracle happened and he still lived. But what's the point that we wanted to make a note of here is Rabbi Akiva's sacrifice. Rabbi Akiva, based on what we were saying, was working his entire life. It wasn't just a last-minute decision at the end of his life, let me die with the Shema, and to fulfill B'chol Nafshcha. His entire life, he was working on building up to that last moment that he should die al Kiddush Hashem. He was prepared to give up dying al Kiddush Hashem to be able to fulfill the rabbinic decree of washing your hands on the Netilas Yadayim. He was prepared to die of thirst. That's an unbelievable lesson for us. He was prepared to give up everything he had been working for his whole life to die a martyr's death, al Kiddush Hashem, to just die of thirst. If he would have died of thirst, he wouldn't have been able to fulfill this b'chol nafshecha. So Hashem made a miracle. He didn't die of thirst, and he was able to fulfill the thing. So it's just an interesting idea that we should try our best to work on things every day. Every day, try to work on small amount every day, and it builds, and we slowly change over time. And Hashem should bless us that we should continue to grow. Mala mala. Thank you very much for having me. There you go. Thank you very much.